All books of Scripture are special. This one is very special to my walk. It's called 2 Esdras, also known as 4th Ezra. If you're unfamiliar with this book, it used to be considered Scripture for many years. It was included in the 1611 KJV, the 1599 Geneva, the Ethiopian, many different canons of Scripture. This was considered Scripture. But in the 1800s, with the dispensational movement, they decided to remove this book because it kind of challenges all their doctrine. Anyways, we're going to read that today, and we're going to take turns reading them. We're going to have a couple volunteers. We're going to read 2 chapters apiece. We will have the overhead as well, just in case you don't have this book. You can also try to follow along, maybe. You can see it. But in any case, before we start, let's start with prayer. Heavenly Father, Yahweh Most High, Abba, we just come before you on this amazing feast of unleavened bread. And Father, we just thank you so much for Yahushua, Messiah, the true unleavened bread that came down and gave us your true doctrine from heaven. Father, we know that your word is a lamp unto our feet. And we're just so thankful to gather together here in this tent of meeting, and anyone that may be listening online to listen and hear the word spoken through Ezra, your prophet. We love you and thank you. And may you bless this tent and bless anyone's ears that's hearing these words. And may they penetrate their hearts, that it might bring forth fruit in its due season. In Yahushua's mighty name we pray. Amen. All right, check your phones, ringers. Let's have some reverence. And please, as we're reading, let's have reverence for the word being read. Let's try to keep... If you're going to be reading, make sure the microphone is to your mouth so we can all hear you. 2 Esdras, also called the book of 4th Ezra. The second book of the prophet Ezra, the son of Serayahu, the son of Azaryahu, the son of Chilyahu, the son of Shalom, the son of Zadok, the son of Ahitub, the son of Abishua, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the son of Amaryahu, the son of Azaryahu, the son of Marioth, the son of Bukai, the son of Abishua, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Ahron of the tribe of Levi, which was captive in the land of Madai in the reign of Artaxerxes, the king of the Persians. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Go your way, and show my people their sinful deeds, and their children their wickedness which they have done against me, that they may tell their children's children, because the sins of their fathers are increased in them, for they have forgotten me, and have offered unto strange Elohim. Am not I even he that brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage? But they have provoked me unto wrath, and despised my counsels. Pull off then the hair of your head, and cast all evil upon them. For they have not been obedient to my Torah, but into rebellious people. How long shall I forbear them? And to whom I have done so much good. Many kings have I destroyed for their sakes. Pharaoh, with his servants, and all his power I have smitten down. All the nations I have destroyed before them. And in the east I have scattered the people of 2 provinces, even Tyre and Sidon, and have slain all their enemies. Speak therefore unto them, saying, Thus says Yahuwah, I led you through the sea in the beginning, and gave you a large and safe passage. I gave you Moshe for a leader, Naharon for a priest. I gave you light and a pillar of fire, and great wonders have I done among you. Yet you have forgotten me, says Yahuwah. Thus says El Shaddai, Yahuwah. The quails were as a sign to you. I gave you tents for your safeguard. Nevertheless, you murmured there, and triumphed not in my name for the destruction of your enemies. But ever to this day yet do you murmur. Where are the benefits that I have done for you? When you were hungry and thirsty in the wilderness, did you not cry unto me, saying, Why have you brought us into this wilderness to kill us? It had been better for us to have served the Mitzrayim than to die in this wilderness. Then I had pity on your mournings, and gave you manna to eat. So you did eat angels' bread. When you were thirsty, did I not cleave the rock, and waters flowed out to your fill? For the heat I covered you with the leaves of the trees. I divided among you a fruitful land. I cast out the Canaanim, the Perizim, and the Pelishtim before you. What shall I yet do more for you, says Yahuwah? Thus says El Shaddai Yahuwah. When you were in the wilderness, in the river of the Amorim, being athirst and blaspheming my name, I gave you not fire for your blasphemies, but cast a tree into the water, and made the river sweet. What shall I do unto you, O Yaakov? You, Yahudah, would not obey me. I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name. that they may guard my statutes. Seeing ye have forsaken me, I will also forsake you. When you desire me to be gracious unto you, I shall have no mercy upon you. Whensoever you shall call upon me, I will not hear you. For you have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit manslaughter. You have not, as it were, forsaken me, but your own selves, says Yahweh. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh. Have I not prayed you as father as his sons, as a mother her daughters, and a nurse her young babes, that you would be my people, and I should be your Elohim? That you would be my children, and I should be your father? I gathered you together as a hen gathers her chicken under her wings. But now, what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face. When you offer unto me, I will turn my face from you. For your solemn feast days, your new moons, and your circumcisions I have forsaken. I sent unto you my servants the prophets, whom you have taken and slain, and torn their bodies in pieces, whose blood I will require of your hands, says Yahweh. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, your house is desolate. I will cast you out of the windows stubble, and your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandment, and have done the thing that is evil before me. Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which have not heard of me, yet shall believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do the things that I command them. They have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. I take to witness the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness, and though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in their ruach they will believe the things that I say. And now, brother, behold, what glory! And see the people that come from the east, unto whom I will give for leaders, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Husha, Amos, Mikiyahu, Yoel, Obadyahu, Yonah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, which is also called the angel of Yahweh. Chapter 2. Thus says Yahweh, I brought this people out of bondage, and I gave them my commandments, and by my men servants the prophets, whom they would not hear but despised my counsels. The mother that bore them says unto them, Go your way, you children, for I am a widow and forsaken. I brought you up with gladness, but with sorrow and heaviness have I lost you, for you have sinned against me. Before Yahweh Lahaikim, and done that thing that is evil before him. But what shall I now do unto you? I am a widow and forsaken. Go your way, O my children, and ask mercy of Yahweh. As for me, O Father, I call upon you for a witness over the mother of these children, which would not guard my covenant, that you bring them to confusion and their mother to a spoil, that there may be no offspring of them. Let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. Woe be unto you, Ashur, that you hide the unrighteousness in you. O you wicked people, remember what I did unto Sodom and Amorah, whose land lies in clods of pitch and heaps of ashes. Even so also will I do unto them that hear me not, says El Shaddai Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh unto Ezra, Tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Yerushalayim, which I would have given unto Yasharel. Their glory also will I take unto me, and give these the everlasting tabernacles which I have prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an ointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Go, and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Take heaven and earth to witness, for I have broken the evil in pieces and created the good. For I live, says Yahweh. Mother, embrace your children, and bring them up with gladness. Make their feet as fast as a pillar, for I have chosen you, says Yahweh. And those that be dead I will raise up again from their places, and bring them out of the graves, for I have known my name in Yasharel. Fear not, you mother of children, for I have chosen you, says Yahweh. For your help I will send my servant Isaiah and Yirmiyahu, after whose counsel I have sanctified and prepared for you 12 trees laden with diverse fruits, and as many fountains flowing with milk and honey, and 7 mighty mountains whereupon there grow roses and lilies, whereby I fill your children with joy. Do right to the widow, judge for the fatherless, give to the poor, Defend the orphan, clothe the naked, heal the broken and the weak, laugh not a lame man to scorn. Defend the maimed, and let the blind man come into the sight of my clearness. Keep the old and young within your walls. Wheresoever you find the dead, take them and bury them, and I will give you the first place in my resurrection. Abide still, O my people, and take your rest, for your quietness still to come. Nourish your children, O good nurse. Establish their feet. As for the servants whom I have given you, there shall not one of them perish, for I will require them from among your number. Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness comes, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but you shall be merry and have abundance. The nations shall envy you, but they shall not be able to do anything against you, says Yahweh. My hand shall cover you, so that your children shall not see Sheol. Be joyful, O mother, with your sons, with your children, for I will deliver you, says Yahweh. Remember your children that sleep, for I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth, and show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, says Yahweh Sebaot. Embrace your children until I come and show mercy unto them, for my wells run over, and my grace shall not fail. I, Ezra, received a charge of Yahweh upon Mount Horeb, that I should go unto Yasharel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught, and despised the commandment of Yahweh. And therefore I say unto you, O nations, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand that shall come in the end of the world. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. Oh, receive the gift that is given to you and be glad, giving thanks unto him that has led you to the heavenly kingdom. Arise up and stand. Behold the number of those that be sealed in the feast of Yahweh, which are departed from the shadow of the world and have received glorious garments of Yahweh. Take your number, O Zion, and shut up those of yours that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the Torah of Yahweh. The number of your children whom you long for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of Yahweh, that your people which have been called from the beginning may be hallowed. I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised Yahweh with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Elohim. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is that that crowns them, and gives them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of Elohim, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh. Then the angel said unto me, Go your way, and tell my people what manner of things, and how great wonders of Yahweh Elohika you have seen.
In the 30th year, after the ruin of the city, I was in Babel, and I lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts came up over my heart. For I saw the desolation of Zion, and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babel, and my ruach was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear to El Elyon. And I said, O Yahweh Adonai, you spoke at the beginning when you did plant the earth, and that by yourself alone, and commanded the people, and gave a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of your hands, and did breathe into him the breath of life. And he was made a living being before you. And you led him into paradise, which your right hand had planted before the earth ever came forward. And unto him you gave commandment to to love your way, which he transgressed, and immediately you appointed to death in him, and in his generations, of whom came the nations and tribes and people and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will and did wonderful things before you and despised your commandments. And again, in the process of time, you brought the flood upon those that dwelt in the world and destroyed them. And it came to pass in every one of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them you left, namely Noah, with his household, whom came all righteous men. And it happened that when they dwelt upon the earth and began to multiply, and had gotten many children, and were a great people, that they began again to be more wicked than the first. Now, when they lived so wickedly before you, you did choose a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. And him you loved, and unto him only you showed your will, and made an everlasting covenant with him, promising that you would never forsake his seed. And unto him you gave Yitzhak, and unto Yitzhak also you gave Yaakov and Esau. As for Yaakov, you did choose him to you, and put by Esau, so that Yaakov became a great multitude. And it came to pass that when you led his seed out of Mitzrayim, he brought them to Mount Sinai. And bowing the heavens, you did set fast the earth, and moved the whole world, and made the depths to tremble, and troubled the men of that age. And your glory went through 4 gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of the cold, that you might give the Torah unto the seed of Yaakov, and diligence unto the generation of Yasharal. And yet took you not away from them a wicked heart, that your Torah might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him. And thus infirmity was made permanent, and the Torah also in the heart of these people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. So the times passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then did you raise up a servant, called David, whom you commanded to build a city unto your name, and to offer incense and oblations unto you therein. And when this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city, they forsook you. And in all things they did as Adam and as his generation had done, for they also had a wicked heart. And so you gave your city over into the hands of your enemies. Are their deeds then any better than that inhabit Babel, that they should therefore have dominion over Zion? For when I came thither and had seen impieties without number, then my soul saw many evildoers in the 30th year, so that my heart failed me. For I have seen how you suffer them sinning, and have spared wicked doers, and have destroyed your people, and preserved your enemies, and have not signified it. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babel better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that knows you besides Yasharel? Or what generation has so believed your covenants as Yaakov? And yet the reward appears not, for their labor has no fruit. For I have gone here and there throughout the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon your commandments. Weigh therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world. So shall your name nowhere be found, but in Yasharal. So when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in your sight? For what people have so kept your commandments? You shall find that Yasharel by name has kept your precepts, but not the heathen. Chapter 4, and the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer, and said, Your heart has gone too far in this world, and think you to comprehend the way of El Elyon? Then I said, Yea, my Adonai. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show you 3 ways, and to set forth 3 similitudes before you. Wherefore, if you can declare me one, I will show you also the way that you desire to see, and I shall show you whence the wicked heart comes. And I said, Tell me, my Adonai. Then he said unto me, Go your way, weigh me in the weight of fire, or measure me the blast of the wind, or call me again the day that is past. And then I answered, I said, What man is able to do that? You should ask me such things. And he said unto me, Great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs there are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the expanse, or which are the outgoings of paradise. Perchance you would say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into Sheol, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now I have asked you, but only of the fire and the wind, and of the day whereof you that has passed, and of things which cannot be separated. And yet can you give me no answer of them? And he said moreover unto me, your own things, and such are grown up with you, can you not know? How should your vessel then be able to comprehend the way of El Elyon and the world, being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight? Then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, than that we should live still in wickedness, and to suffer, and to not know wherefore. And he answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel, and said, come, let us go make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also in the like manner took counsel, and said, come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that we may also make us another country. The thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. And the thought of the floods of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. If you judge betwixt two, whom would you begin to justify, or whom would you condemn? And I answered and said, truly it's a foolish thought that they should have both devised, for the ground is given unto wood, and the sea also has his place to bear his floods. Then he answered me and said, you have given a right judgment, but why judge you not yourself also? For like the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth. And he that dwells above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. And then he answered I and said, I beseech you, O Yahweh, let me have understanding, for it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily. Namely, wherefore Yasharel is given up as a reproach unto the heathen, and for what cause the people whom you have loved is given over unto wicked nations, and when the Torah of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to no effect. And we pass away out of the world as grasshoppers, or our life is astonishment and fear, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. What will he then do unto his name, whereby we are called? Of these things I have asked. And then he answered, and he said, the more you search, the more you shall marvel, for the world hastens fast to pass away, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in the time to come. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. But as concerning the things whereof you ask me, I will tell you. For the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good? For the grain of the evil seed has been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning, and how much wickedness has it brought up unto this time? And how much shall it bring forth until the time of the threshing come? Ponder now by yourself how great fruit of wickedness and the grain of evil seed has brought forth. But when the ears shall be sown, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill? And then I answered, I said, how and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore, are our years few and evil? And he answered to me, saying, do you not hasten above El Elyon? For your haste is in vain to be above him, for you have much exceeded. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask questions of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? Or when comes the fruit of the floor of our reward? And unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of the seeds is filled in you, for he has weighed the world in the balance. By measure he has measured the times, and by number he has numbered the times, and he does not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. Then answered I and said, O Yahweh Adonai, we are full of sin, and for our sakes perchance it is that the floors of the righteous are not filled, because the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. So he answered me and said, go your way to a woman with child, and ask of her when she has fulfilled her 9 months, if her womb may keep the birth any longer within her. Then I said, no, Adonai, that can she not. For he said unto me, in Sheol, the chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman. For like as a woman that travails and makes haste to escape the necessity of the travail, even so do these places hasten to deliver those things that are committed unto them. From the beginning, look, what you desire to see, and it shall be shown you. Then answered I and said, If I have found favor in your sight, make me possible, and if I be meet, therefore, show me then whether there be more to come than is past, or more past than is to come. For what is past I know, but what is for to come I know not. And he said unto me, stand up upon the right side, and I shall expound the similitude to you. So I stood, and I saw, and behold, a hot burning oven passed by before me. And it happened that when the flame had gone by, I looked, and behold, the smoke remained still. And after this there passed by before me a watery cloud, and sent down much rain with a storm. And when the stormy rain was past, the drops remained still. Then he said unto me, consider with yourself, as the rain is more than the drops, and the fire is greater than the smoke. But the drops and the smoke remain behind. So the quantity which is past did more exceed. And then I prayed and said, may I live, do you think, until that time? Or what shall happen in those days? And he answered me and said, as for the tokens whereof you ask of me, I may tell you of them in part. But as touching your life, I am not sent to show you, for I do not know it.
Chapter 5. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come, that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now you see, or that you have heard long ago. And the land that you see now to have root shall you see wasted suddenly. But if El Elyon grant you to live, you shall see after the third shofar that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day. And blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule, whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth. And the fowls shall take their flight away together. And the Sidamash seas shall cast out fish, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fires shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. And salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinency be multiplied upon earth. One land also shall ask another, and say, is righteousness that makes a man righteous gone through you? And it shall say, no. At the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain, that shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. To show you such tokens I have leave, and if you will pray again, and weep as now, and fast 7 days, you shall hear yet greater things. Then I awoke, and an extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk with me held me, comforted me, and set me upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass, that Shealtiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, where have you been? And why is your countenance so heavy? Know you not that Yasharel is committed unto you in the land of their captivity? Up then, and eat bread, and forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaves his in the hands of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him, go your ways from me, and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said, and went from me. And so I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, like as Uriel the angel commanded me. And after 7 days, so it was, that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again. And my soul recovered the Ruach Bina, and I began to talk with El Elyon again, and said, O Yahweh Adonai, of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, you have chosen one only vine, and of all the lands of the whole world you have chosen one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily, and of all the depths of the sea you have filled one river, and of all built cities you have hallowed Zion unto yourself, and of all the fowls that are created you have named one dove, and of all the cattle that are made you have provided one sheep, and among all the multitudes of people you have gotten one people, and unto this people, whom you loved, you gave one Torah that is approved of all. And now, O Yahweh, why have you given this one people over unto many? And upon the one root have you prepared others? And why have you scattered your only one people among many? And they which did gainsay your promises, and believe not your covenants, have trodden them down. If you did so much hate your people, yet should you punish them with your own hands. Now when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night before was sent unto me, and said unto me, Hear me, and I will instruct you. Hearken to the thing that I say, I shall tell you more. And I said, Speak on, my Adonai. Then said he unto me, You are sore troubled in mind for Yasharel's sake. Love you the people better than he that made them? And I said, No, Adonai, but a very grief have I spoken. For my mind pains me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of El Elyon, and to seek out part of his judgment. And he said unto me, You cannot. And I said, Wherefore, Adonai? Whereunto was I born then? Or why was not my mother's womb then my grave, that I might not have seen the travail of Jacob, and the wearisome toil of the stock of Yasharel? And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the dross that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that in them are shut up. Show me the image of a voice, and then I will declare to you the thing that you labor to know. And I said, O Yahweh Adonai, who may know these things, but he that has not his dwelling with men? As for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof you ask me? Then said he unto me, Like as you can do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so can you not find out my judgment, or in the end the love that I have promised unto my people. And I said, Behold, O Yahweh, yet are you nigh unto them that be reserved till the end. And what shall they do that have not been before me, or we that be now, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring. Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So I answered and said, Could you not make those that have been made, and be now, and that are for you to come, at once, that you might show your judgment the sooner? Then answered he me and said, The creature may not haste above the Maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created therein. And I said, As you have said unto your servant, that you, which give life to all, have given life at once to the creature that you have created, and the creature bore it, even so it might now also bear them that be present at once. And he said unto me, Ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, If you bring forth children, why do you it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, She cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then said he unto me, Even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it for their times. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, Seeing you have now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before you. For our mother, of whom you have told me that she is young, draws now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, Ask a woman that bears children, and she shall tell you. Say unto her, Wherefore are unto they whom you have now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? And she shall answer you, They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb fails, are otherwise. Consider therefore also how that ye are of less stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you, less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old, and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Adonai, I beseech you, if I have found favor in your sight, show your servant by whom you visit your creature. Chapter 6. And he said unto me, In the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightninged, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that follows? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Yitzhak, when Jacob and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Ezra, ask you not. I answered them and said, O Yahweh Adonai, if I have found favor in your sight, I beseech you, show your servant the end of your tokens, whereof you showed me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, Stand up upon your feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice. And it shall be as if it were a great motion, but the place where you stand shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaks, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembles and is moved. For it knows that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened, that when I had heard it, I stood upon my feet and hearkened. And behold, there was a voice that spoke, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. And with the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The Sepharim shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see altogether. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The woman with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the shofar shall give a sound, which when every man hears, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remains from all these that I have told you shall escape and see my Yeshua and the end of the world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth. And the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, returned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood. And these words said he unto me, I am come to show you the time of the night to come. If you will pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell you greater things by day than I have heard. For your voice is heard before El Elyon. For El has seen your righteous dealing. He has seen also your chastity, which you have had ever since your youth. And therefore has he sent me to show you all these things, and to say unto you, Be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things, that you may not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this, that I wept again, and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before El Elyon, for my ruach was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Yahweh, you spoke from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and said thus, Let heaven and earth be made, and your word was a perfect work. And then was the ruach, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of a man's voice was not yet formed. Then commanded you a fair light to come forth of your treasures, that your work might appear. Upon the 2nd day you made the ruach of the firmament, and commanded it to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, that the one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day you did command the waters should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts have you dried up and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of Elohim until might serve you. For as soon as your word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was a great and innumerable fruit, and many and diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day you commanded that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gave them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. Upon the 5th day you said unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fish. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of Elohim, that all people might praise your wondrous works. Then did you ordain 2 living creatures, the one you called Behemoth, and the other Leviathan, and did separate the one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Behemoth you gave 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan you gave the 7th part, namely the moist, and have kept him to be devoured whom you will and when. Upon the 6th day you gave commandment unto the earth, that before you it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. And after these, Adam also, whom you made Adonai of all your creatures. Of him come we all, and the people also whom you have chosen. All this have I spoken before you, O Yahweh, because you made the world for our sakes. As for the other nations, which also come of Adam, you have said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and have likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falls from a vessel. And now, O Yahweh, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be Adonim over us, and to devour us. But we, your people, whom you have called your firstborn, your Yahid, your fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?
Chapter 7. And when I had made an end of speaking these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore. And he said unto me, Up, Ezra, and hear the words that I am come to tell you. And I said, Speak on, my Elohim. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the case, the entrance were narrow, and like a river. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it, and to rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? There is also another thing. A city is built and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. And there is but one path between them, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. If this city now were given into a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And I said, It is so, Adonai. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Yasharel's portion, because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Now therefore, why disquiet yourself, seeing you are but a corruptible man? And why are you moved, whereas you are but mortal? Why have you not considered in your mind this thing that is to come, rather than that which is present? Then answered I and said, O Yahweh Adonai, you have ordained in your Torah that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the wicked should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things, and hope for wide. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. And he said unto me, There is no judge above Elohim, and none that has understanding above El Elyon. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despised the Torah of Elohim that is set before them. For Elohim has given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spoke against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of El Elyon that he is not, and knew not his ways, but his Torah have they despised, and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. And therefore, Ezra, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told you shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, that now is withdrawn from the earth. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my son Yahusha shall be revealed with those that be with him. And they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. After these years shall my son Mashiach die, and all men that have life, and the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days the world that yet awakes not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence. And the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And El Elyon shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long-suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain, truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. And the works shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then the pit of torment shall appear, and opposite it shall be the place of rest. And the furnace of Sheol shall be disclosed, and opposite it the paradise of delight. Then El Elyon will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, look now and understand whom you have denied, whom you have not served, whose commandments you have despised. Look on this side and on that. Here are delight and rest, and there are fire and torments. Thus he will speak to them on the day of judgment, a day that has no sun or moon or stars, or cloud or thunder or lightning or wind or water or air or darkness or evening or morning, or summer or spring or heat or winter or frost or cold, or hail or rain or dew or noon or night or dawn or shining or brightness or light, but only the splendor of the glory of El Elyon, by which all shall see what has been determined for them. For it will last for about a week of years. This is my judgment, and its prescribed order, and to you alone have I shown these things. I answered and said, O Yahweh Sebaot, I said then, I say now, blessed are those who are alive and guard your commandments. But what of those for whom I prayed? For who among the living is there that has not sinned, or who among men that has not transgressed your covenant? And now I see that the world to come will bring delight to few, but torments to many. For an evil heart has grown up in us, which has alienated us from Elohim, and has brought us into corruption and the ways of death, and has shown us the paths of perdition, and removed us far from life. And that not just a few of us, but almost all who have been created. He answered me and said, listen to me, Ezra, I will instruct you, and will admonish you yet again. For this reason El Elyon has made not one world, but two. For whereas you have said that the righteous are not many, but few, while the wicked abound, hear the explanation for this. If you have just a few precious stones, will you add to them lead and clay? I said, Yahweh, how could that be? And he said to me, not only that, but ask the earth, and she will tell you. Defer to her, and she will declare it to you. Say to her, you produce gold and silver and brass, and also iron and lead and clay. But silver is more abundant than gold, and brass than silver, and iron than brass, and lead than iron, and clay than lead. Judge therefore which these things are precious and desirable, those that are abundant or those that are rare. I said, O Yahweh Sebaot, what is plentiful is of less worth, for what is more rare is more precious. He answered me and said, weigh within yourself what you have thought, for he who has what is hard to get rejoices more than he who has what is plentiful. So also will be the judgment which I have promised. For I will rejoice over the few who shall be saved, because it is they who have made my glory to prevail now, and through them my name has now been honored. And I will not grieve over the multitude of those who perish, for it is they who are now like a mist and are similar to a flame and smoke. They are set on fire and burn hotly and are extinguished. I replied and said, O earth, what have you brought forth? If the mind is made out of the dust, like the other created things. For it would have been better if the dust itself had not been born, so that the mind might not have been made from it. But now the mind grows with us, and therefore we are tormented, because we perish and know it. Let mankind lament, but let the beasts of the field be glad. Let all who have been born lament, but let the four-footed beasts and the flocks rejoice. For it is much better with them than with us. For they do not look for a judgment, nor do they know of any torment, or Yeshua promised to them after death. For what does it profit us that we shall be preserved alive, but cruelly tormented? For all who have been born are involved in iniquities, and are full of sins and burdened with transgressions. And if we were not to come into judgment after death, perhaps it would have been better for us. He answered me and said, When El Elyon made the world and Adam and all who have come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that pertain to the judgment. And now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us. For this reason, therefore, those who dwell on earth shall be tormented, because though they had understanding, they committed iniquity. And though they received the commandments, they did not guard them. And though they obtained the Torah, they dealt unfaithfully with what they received. What then will they have to say in the judgment? Or how will they answer in the last times? For how long the time is that El Elyon has been patient with those who inhabit the world, and not for their sake, but because of the times which he has foreordained. I answered and said, If I have found favor in your sight, O Yahweh, show this also to your servant, whether after death, as soon as every one of us yields up his soul, we shall be kept in rest until those times come when you will renew the creation, or whether we shall be tormented at once. He answered me and said, I will show you that also, but do not be associated with those who have shown scorn, nor number yourself among those who are tormented. For you have a treasure of works laid up with El Elyon, but it will not be shown to you until the last times. Now concerning death, the teaching is, when the decisive decree has gone forth from El Elyon that a man shall die, as the Ruach leaves the body to return again to him who gave it, first of all, it adores the glory of El Elyon. And if it is one of those who have shown scorn and have not guarded the way of El Elyon, and who have despised his Torah, and who have hated those who feared Elohim, such Ruach shall not enter into habitations, but shall immediately wander about in torments, ever grieving and sad in 7 ways. The first way, because they have scorned the Torah of El Elyon. The second way, because they cannot now make a good repentance that they may live. The third way, they shall see the reward laid up for those who have trusted the covenants of El Elyon. The fourth way, they shall consider the torment laid up for themselves in the last days. The fifth way, they shall see how the habitations of the others are guarded by angels in profound quiet. The sixth way, they shall see how some of them will pass over into torments. The seventh way, which is worse than all the ways that have been mentioned, because they shall utterly waste away in confusion and be consumed with shame, and shall wither with fear at seeing the glory of El Elyon, before whom they sinned while they were alive, and before whom they are to be judged in the last times. Now, this is the order of those who have guarded the way of El Elyon, when they shall be separated from their mortal body. During the time that they lived in it, they laboriously served El Elyon and withstood danger every hour, that they might guard the Torah of the Torah giver perfectly. Therefore, this is the teaching concerning them. First of all, they shall see with great joy the glory of him who receives them, for they shall have rest in 7 orders. The first order, because they have striven with great effort to overcome the evil thought which was formed with them, that it might not lead them astray from life into death. The second order, because they see the perplexity in which the souls of the wicked wander, and the punishment that awaits them. The third order, they see the witness which he who formed them bears concerning them, that while they were alive, they guarded the Torah which was given them in trust. The fourth order, they understand the rest which they now enjoy, being gathered into their chambers and guarded by angels in profound quiet, and the glory which awaits them in the last days. The fifth order, they rejoice that they have now escaped what is corruptible and shall inherit what is to come. And besides, they see the straits and toil from which they have been delivered, and the spacious liberty which they are to receive and enjoy in immortality. The sixth order, when it is shown to them how their face is to shine like the sun, and how they are to be made like the light of the stars, being incorruptible from then on. The seventh order, which is greater than all that have been mentioned, because they shall rejoice with boldness, and shall be confident without confusion, and shall be glad without fear. For they hasten to behold the face of him whom they served in life, and from whom they are to receive their reward when glorified. This is the order of the souls of the righteous, as henceforth is announced. And the aforesaid are the ways of torment which those who would not give heed shall suffer hereafter. I answered and said, Will time therefore be given to the souls, after they have been separated from the bodies, to see what you have described to me? He said to me, They shall have freedom for 7 days, so that during these 7 days they may see the things of which you have been told, and afterwards they shall be gathered in their habitations. I answered and said, If I have found favor in your sight, show further to me your servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the wicked, or to pray to El Elyon for them, fathers for sons, or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for their kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. He answered me and said, Since you have found favor in my sight, I will show you this also. The day of judgment is decisive, and displays to all the seal of truth. Just as now a father does not send his son, or a son his father, or a master his servant, or a friend his dearest friend, to be ill, or sleep, or eat, or be healed in his place, so no one shall ever pray for another on that day, neither shall anyone lay a burden on another, for then everyone shall bear his own righteousness and unrighteousness. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the inhabitants of Sodom, and Moshe for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Yahusha after him for Yasharel in the time of Achan, and Shemuel and David for the destruction, and Shalomah for them that should come to the sanctuary, and Elihu for those that received rain, and for the dead that he might live, and Zekiel for the people in the time of Kencheriv, and many for many. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the wicked, wherefore shall so? He answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory abides. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality to come, wherein corruption is past. Intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that has gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else when it was given him to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? O Adam, what have you done? For though it was you that sinned, you are not fallen alone, but we all that come of you. For what profit is it unto us, if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death? And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves being most wicked are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly, and that the glory of El Elyon is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all, and that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endures forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it, for we have walked in unpleasant places. And that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then he answered me and said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. That if he be overcome, he shall suffer, as you have said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. For this is the life whereof Moshe spoke unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose life that you may live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me which have spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction as they be joy over them that are persuaded to Yeshua. I answered them and said, I know, Yahuwah, that El Elyon is called merciful, in that he has mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his Torah, and that he is patient and long suffers those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needs, and that he is of great mercy, for he multiplies more and more mercies to them that are present and that are past, and also to them which are to come. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world would not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardons. For if he did not sow of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them, the 10,000th part of men should not remain living. And being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left perchance in an innumerable multitude.
We're going to do one more chapter today, and we're going to finish this up tomorrow. And we're going to do a shofar class in here afterwards. Chapter 8. And he answered me, saying, El Elyon has made this world for many, but the world to come for few. I will tell you a similitude, Ezra. As when you ask the earth, it shall say unto you, that it gives much mold whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold comes of. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. So I answered and I said, Swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom. For you have agreed to give ear, and you are willing to prophesy. For you have no longer space only than to live. O Yahuwah, if you suffer not your servant, that we may pray before you, and you give us seed unto our heart, and culture to our understanding, that there may come fruit of it, how shall each man live that is corrupt, who bears the place of a man? For you are alone, and we are your workmanship of your hands, like as you have said. For when the body is fashioned now in the mother's womb, and you give it members, your creature is preserved in fire and water, and 9 months your workmanship endures your creature, which is created in her. But that which keeps and is kept shall both be preserved. And when the time comes, the womb preserved delivers up the things that grew in it. For you have commanded out of the parts of the body, that is to say, out of the breasts, milk to be given, which is the fruit of the breasts, that the thing which is fashioned may be nourished for a time, till you dispose it to your mercy. You brought it up with your righteousness and nurtured it in your Torah, and reformed it with your judgment. And you shall mortify it as your creature, and quicken it as your work. If therefore you shall destroy him which is with so great labor was fashioned, it is an easy thing to be ordained by your commandment, that the thing which was made might be preserved. Now therefore, Yahweh, I will speak. Touching man in general, you know best. But touching your people, for whose sake I am sorry, and for your inheritance, whose cause I mourn, and for Uriel, for whom I am heavy, and for Yaakov, for whose sake I am troubled. Therefore, I will begin to pray before you for myself and for them. For I see the falls of us that dwell in the land. But I have heard of the swiftness of the judgment which is to come. Therefore, hear my voice, and understand my words, and I shall speak before you. This is the beginning of the words of Ezra, before he was taken up. And I said, O Yahweh, you that dwell in everlastingness, which behold from above things in the heaven and in the air, whose throne is inestimable, whose glory may not be comprehended, before whom the hosts of angels stand with trembling, whose service is conversant in wind and fire, whose word is true and sayings constant, whose commandment is strong and ordinance fearful, whose look dries up the depths, and indignation makes the mountains to melt away, which the truth witnesses. Oh, hear the prayer of your servant, and give ear to the petition of your creature. For while I live, I will speak, and so long as I have understanding, I will answer. Oh, look not upon the sins of your people, but on them which serve you in truth. Regard not the wicked inventions of the heathen, but the desire of those that guard your testimonies in afflictions. Think not upon those that have walked faintly before you, but remember them which according to your will have known your fear. Let it not be your will to destroy them which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught your Torah. Take no indignation at them which are deemed worse than beasts, but love them that always put their trust in your righteousness and glory. For we and our fathers do languish of such diseases, but because of us sinners, you shall be called merciful. For if you have desired to have mercy upon us, you shall be called merciful. To us, namely, that have no works of righteousness. For the just, which have many good works laid up with you, shall out of their own deeds receive reward. For what is man that you should take displeasure at him? Or what is a corruptible generation that you should be so bitter toward it? For in truth, there is no man among them that he is born, but he has dealt wickedly, and among the faithful there is none which has not done amiss. For in this, O Yahweh, your righteousness and your goodness shall be declared. If you be merciful unto them which have not the confidence of good works. And he answered me and said, some things you have spoken aright, and according to your words it shall be done, it shall be. For indeed I will not think of the disposition of them which have sinned before death, before judgment, before destruction. But I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous. And I will remember also their pilgrimage, and their Yeshua, and the reward, and that they shall have. Like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman sows much seed upon the ground, and plants many trees, and yet the thing that is sown good in his season comes not up, neither does all that is planted take root. Even so, it is of them that are sown in the world, they shall not all be saved. I answered then and said, if I have found grace, let me speak. Like as the husbandman's seed perishes, if it comes not up, and receive not your rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it, even so perishes man also, which is formed with your hands, and is called your own image, because you are like unto him, for whose sake you have made all things, and likened him unto the husbandman's seed. Be not wroth with us, but spare your people, and have mercy on your own inheritance, for you are merciful unto your creature. Then answered he me, and said, things present are for the present, and things to come are for such as to become. For you come far short that you should be able to love my creature more than I. But I have oft times drawn nigh unto you, and unto it, but never unto the unrighteous. In this also you are marvelous before El Elyon, in that you have humbled yourself, as it becomes you, and have not judged yourself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. But understand for yourself, and seek out the glory for such as be like you. For unto you is the paradise opened, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is built, and rest allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into Sheol to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end is showed the treasure of immortality. Therefore ask no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they had taken liberty, they despised El Elyon, thought scorn of his Torah, and forsook his ways. Moreover, they have trodden down his righteousness, and said in their heart that there is no Elohim, yea, that knowing they must die. For as the things aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pain are prepared for them. For it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore is my judgment now at hand. These things have I not shown unto all men, but unto you, and a few like you. Then I answered and said, Behold, O Yahweh, now have you showed me the multitude of the wonders which you will begin to do in the last times. But at what time you have not showed me. And that's the end of the reading for today. We're going to finish up tomorrow. Sean.